Welcome to Theology Thursday. Last time we talked about the first stage of faith when someone's a new Christian or an immature Christian, and I mentioned that they make a lot of noise for the Lord, and yet the actual amount that they trust God and therefore obey God is very minimal. In fact, I would go so far as to argue a lot of times the noise they're making and the passion they have is actually their outward attempt to cover up for what they feel like is an inward lack. Phase two, then, is, of course, that moment when troubles come. I can't describe the beginning of stages two better than Jesus did when he talked about the parable of the sower, that farmer who went to sow seeds all over the place. And he said that some landed among thorns, others landed on the path, others landed just on really dry, sort of shallow ground, and particularly the ones that landed on ground, he said, when troubles or persecutions come because of the word, not because of other things, but when trouble come their way because they're a Christian, because they've accepted the gospel, Jesus said there's a group that quickly fall away. I might go so far as that, just from my own personal experience. There's also a group that just sort of reverts back to the shallow faith, that the troubles and persecution are an invitation from God to lean into your faith. And yet some people get scared and they run away entirely. Other people just go back to being very passionate but very shallow Christians. And yet those of us who are good and true, who are planted in sort of deep, fertile theological ground, the good soil Jesus talks about, we know that it's an opportunity for growth. And so a lot of Christians, as they mature in their faith, will go through a period that many have called a desert wandering period, where you feel like you're wandering through a desert, metaphorically, like the Israelites did 40 years in the desert after leaving Egypt. Others have called it the dark night of the soul. Dark night of the soul is a little bit misleading, I have found, because dark night of the soul can oftentimes lead you to think that it's like this dramatic season of hardship and pain and frustration, and it's not always that. It is for some people, but it's not always that. The dark night of the soul instead is actually for many of us just a period of boredom, where we just get bored with our faith, where we just get burnt out. We just get tired of always having to be so ecstatic and energetic for the Lord. Anything that goes up must come down, right? And that's true of our energy levels. And so there's a group of Christians who try to fan the flames of their energy level, and but instead that just leads the crash to be worse. And oftentimes after you've been doing life with the Lord for a few years, or even sometimes just a few months, you're going to get bored. And it's not going to seem as exciting anymore. And it's not going to seem as new and inviting. And you're going to wonder, where is this passion that I once had? Many people at that time might throw the verse at you from Revelation. You've lost your first love. And yet love is not energy. Love is not passion. That's not what love is. Love is patience. It's kindness, right? It's a lifestyle lived in the world. And so oftentimes during the second stage of faith, a lot of Christians will quiet down, and they may go months, years, not even talking about the Lord, not even really being effusive or energetic. They may come to church and walk away having felt nothing. They may read their Bible and continue their devotions every morning, and yet just not get as much out of them as they used to. And this can lead to a crisis, especially if you believe that all God wants from you is verbal passion. But if you have been taught and trained, and by the way, this is why I'm making this video, if you've been told, don't worry, it gets boring. Don't worry, God's still at work, even when you can't sense it or feel God at work. Things are happening even when it seems like nothing is happening. If you were told that to the beginning, this is a wonderful time when your faith increases every day, because you're not just saying you trust God, but you're trusting God with the menial. You're trusting God with the mundane. At this point, I know many friends who have been through such seasons that they've even gone through times of doubting where they would say, I'm not even sure I would call myself a Christian anymore. I'm not even sure God is there anymore. And yet in that brutal honesty, they're at least trusting that God is bigger than that, than their doubts and their uncertainty. And it's such a beautiful thing. And in fact, even though if we measured the passion level, stage one, you'd be here, and stage two, you'd be here, if that's actually reversed. In fact, stage one Christians, for all their energy, for all their passion, are really just here. Whereas stage two Christians, for all their lack of energy, all their lack of passion, all their boredom, they're actually up here, and how much they actually trust and obey God. And so stage 2 is a wonderful gift from God, not to be avoided, not to be run from. When the sun comes up, those of us planted in good soil, that's our time to shine. That's our time to work through those things. That's our time to keep on keeping on. One of my favorite sermons about the dark night of the soul comes from John Wesley, the great theologian. John Wesley, who basically says, if you're going through the dark night of the soul, just keep on keeping on. Keep praying, keep waiting on the Lord, keep doing the things you did at first. Stay grounded, go to church, do communion, all those things. Just stay rooted in the means of grace, John Wesley says, and eventually God will start pouring grace through those things again. And so that's stage 2, not the fun stage. But join us next time when we're going to introduce stage 3, which I think is the best stage. See you next time.